this is your roadmap to standing out as a project manager this year. If you're looking to level up your skills or finally stand out in today's job market so you can land your next job opportunity, then this video is for you. Hey friends, my name is Alvin. I'm a certified PMP project manager here to help you grow your career in project management. So the very first step to grow your career and stand out from everyone else is to go all in with one certification or course. Now, personally, I'm guilty of buying all of these different courses and trying to pursue all these certifications all at the same time. It's kind of like Pokemon, where you're trying to catch Pikachu, catch Bulbasaur, try to catch Ghastly or Charizard or even Mewtwo or Mew, right? You only want to go all in on one certification and maybe one or two courses. The more precise you can be, the better, because we all have challenging work-life balances. We have a family to take care of. You also want to have your own personal side of things, right? Like working out, prioritizing your health, still having some kind of hobbies and not revolving your life around constantly working your day job. So for me, what my personal recommendation to you is to only go all in one certification or one course, diving deep into it and dedicating all of your energy into doing it. So for example, on the screen, I'm showing a bunch of certifications, and I will include links down below to everything that I recommend. So let's say you're entry level. Then you can go for the CAPM if you have zero or maybe just a little bit of project management experience. But if you have at least 3 years experience in project management, then go for your PMP or maybe the PMI Agile Certified Practitioner. Or if you're more in an Agile role, go for your Scrum certification or your Safe Scrum certification. There's plenty of certifications that you can choose, but I want you to pick the most relevant for your industry. If you know that the PMP is the one that's holding you back, then take the steps to become PMP certified in the next 5 or hopefully fewer months. Ideally, in the next 3 months, you can become certified. So go all in with one certification and then go all in on one course. Maybe it's through Coursera or Udemy, or maybe it's something that you bought from me. Go all in on that course and learn everything you can. Take as many notes as you can and just absorb all that information. Because truthfully, a lot of people go through the certification just to get that piece of paper to put on their resume. But because they go so fast, they go through the motions of learning what is on the exam that they don't really apply what they learned to the real world scenarios when they're in their jobs. So you're going to be different. You're going to actually apply what you learned in your day job, whether it's through the course or through your certification. Now, I want to hear from you. What certification or which course will you be planning on focusing on for this year? Drop me your comment in the comment section down below. Now, once you've done that, the second step is to only master each of these areas so you can be a standout project manager. So instead of focusing all in on 10 different AI tools and becoming a subject matter expert on all of them, I want you to focus on understanding the basics of what makes a project manager a real project manager. Did you know that 90% of our jobs in project management is just to communicate? But even if you're PMP certified and you're Agile certified practitioner, or maybe you're certified in Safe, who cares if you have all these certifications if you can't build the trust, your reputation, your authority, your informal authority, so to speak, if you don't have these kinds of skills? And I've listed a few here, which I think are very instrumental to standing out as a project manager who other people, who your peers, and whom other leaders and directors respect. And that is leadership, communication, negotiation, charisma, and influence. You see, with AI on the rise and just dominating the entire market with how jobs are being replaced, the only way that we can stand out is to truly rely on building in-person, human-to-human connections and leading teams, because AI is completely wiping out so much of the admin work that we used to do. For example, meeting minutes, creating agendas, brainstorming, creating a requirements traceability matrix, or just creating project documents. AI software can do that for us. But we, as project managers, or maybe you're a program manager, we need to stand out by building upon the relationships that we have with other people. And to do that, we need to have people want to work with us. That human to human trust, that interaction with other people. And there are a few areas that I just highlighted with this pyramid: leadership, communication, negotiation, charisma, and influence. Now, you don't need to go all in on every single one of the areas. I recommend mastering at least one of the areas for this year and just going all in on it. But if you have the bandwidth, then you can just pick one of the different resources from each of the different areas. So I've already gone through and I've selected the best resources that I'm personally using or that I've personally used before, and I'm going to share it with you in this video. So again, pick only one resource that I recommend so you don't overwhelm yourself. Don't feel like you need to go through everything I'm recommending. What I'm sharing with you is just what I am personally either using or that I have used in the past. So just as a disclaimer, I'm putting that up front so that you know where I'm coming from. So the first area is for leadership. Now, I've scavenged the internet to find out what are the best leadership books to be a good leader. And as a project manager, you have zero formal authority. Typically, almost no one really reports up to you. So you have to be able to build the trust and the reliability and the informal authority so that people still listen to you. How do you become a good leader if you never were a leader before? Well, the truth is, you can be a leader regardless of what your job title is. You don't have to be manager of anything to be a leader. You could be a technician, a software engineer, or a mechanical engineer, or even a project manager like we are trying to be a leader. So these are the top books that I highly recommend. There are many out there, and I'll include my links down below in the description box so you know exactly which ones I'm recommending. The first one is Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. He has this extreme ownership mentality that I apply to this day to my personal life and also to my professional life, which is don't blame other people, don't make excuses, and stop criticizing other people. If there's something that failed, take ownership of it. Take that extreme ownership mentality and say that, hey, it's my fault. This isn't going to happen again. This is what I'm going to do. Just that extreme ownership mentality will get you very far in life and also will teach you how to lead teams and not blame them if, let's say, an issue arises or a deadline is slipped. Because the last thing that you want to happen is a failure happens and then you start yelling at your team members and you criticize them because their work was subpar, right? Don't be that person who screams, cusses at their team members. Be professional. That's what this book will teach you. Second leadership book I recommend is 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. There are 5 areas that a team needs to go through to be high performing, right? I highly encourage you to go through it because as a project manager, you're going to be getting a team, maybe it's 5 people, maybe it's 10 people, whatever it is, and you're going to go through each of these different areas. And so it's very important to know what area do I need to optimize? If we're just starting out, what techniques do I need to put in place so the team feels more accountable for their work and they're setting aside their ego and they're putting the company's goals, the project goals ahead of themselves. The next book I highly recommend is John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I've already read this book. I highly recommend it. Just read it. Just read one leadership law every single day, and it's going to be like someone teaching every day on how to be an effective leader. Really straightforward, and it's a great way to level up what it takes to be a leader. And then we have these 2 other books called It's Your Ship and Turn the Ship Around. I read these books back when I was an engineer, and they really instill in you what it means to be a leader when other people are looking up to you. Highly recommend them. And finally, we have Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, The Ride of a Lifetime. Have you ever wondered what it takes to be a leader or the CEO of Disney? How do they operate? What's the mindset behind that? How do they lead the strategy, the business operation from a global standpoint? What's that like? As someone who went to Disneyland, also traveled to Disney World with my wife, I'm a fan of Disney stuff, the Disney movies, everything Disney. And it's phenomenal to see how human his interactions are with other people, how he deals with customers, how he has this transparent mindset, and how he values human-to-human connections. So highly recommend The Ride of a Lifetime if you're going to be in a project manager role. So again, pick one of these books to read, because I know our lives are busy. Maybe you have kids, maybe you have a full-time job and you're balancing taking care of your kids. It's a lot. So just pick one of these leadership books and go all in. By the way, to help you land your next project manager job so you stand out from thousands of other people in today's competitive job market, download my free project manager resume template at alvinthepm.com/resume template. This is the exact resume template that I used, that I created for myself when I was applying to project manager jobs, and it helped me land 6-figure jobs so I could earn the income that I finally deserved, and I want the same thing for you. Now, the next area is all about communication. Like I said earlier, project managers need to be good at communication. As someone who studied engineering in the past from UC San Diego, I was an introvert. I wasn't very good at communicating to other people. But slowly over time, I learned to get out of my shell and to open up who I was to other people and break down the doors and show who I was, be more vulnerable about who I am, be more authentic to myself, and still create that authentic interaction with other people so that we can still build that trust and that reliability. Highly recommend each of these books. So the first one is, if you haven't heard of it before, hopefully you hear about it today, which is How to Win Friends and Influence People. I read this book many times already. The principles are timeless, and it teaches you how to communicate regardless of who that person is or where they're from. You need to learn the basic skills on social interaction, because it can get awkward if you don't know how to talk to other people, strike up a conversation, and get people to trust you. The second one is called Difficult Conversations, which is kind of analogous to the other book called Crucial Conversations. Now, I've read Crucial Conversations before, and it's a really great masterclass on how to communicate. It gives you sample scripts so you know what words to say when you're in certain situations. But the root of it all is to start with heart. What is it that you want out of that conversation? And you'll know you're in a crucial conversation when your heart is starting to race. Your palms are getting sweaty and your heart is just beating fast. Maybe you're clenching your fists. Maybe your boss is giving you critical feedback and you feel like you're on the defense because they said something which isn't true. Or maybe you're trying to advocate for your promotion. Or maybe you have to deal with conflict resolution with your team members. This book, Difficult Conversations or Crucial Conversations, will give you the terminology and the skill set so you can learn how to communicate more effectively during these high-stakes conversations. And lastly, the book is Crucial Accountability by the same authors. As project managers, you need to know how to hold other people accountable for their work. Let's say a test report is due in 2 weeks. How do you get someone to make sure that they get it done in 2 weeks? It sounds pretty easy, but it honestly is not, because, in the past I would say, hey, John, can you get this done by next Friday? And then I wouldn't follow up because I trusted that John would get it done by next Friday because it's his professional duty. It's his job. So he should get it done in 2 weeks. The answer is no. He has a lot of things going on. Things will arise. He'll have bottlenecks, roadblocks. Things will come up. He'll get disrupted. Maybe he'll get sick. So many things happen, but you still need to find a way to hold him accountable if something does arise, or maybe his performance starts to slip. This book will teach you those skills. So again, pick one of these communication books and you're going to be one step ahead of the curve of 95% of other project managers. Now, the third area is all about negotiation. This is kind of like the side step to communication because they're kind of hand in hand related. Every communication, every conversation we have with another person is negotiation. You're always trying to convince someone else to do something. Hey, honey, would you mind getting the trash out? Hey, honey, would you mind cleaning up the bathroom? Right? You probably heard that in your home, right? Like when someone tells you to go do something, and in your job, it's like, hey, John, will you get that report done by Friday? Hey, John, will you get this report communicated and analyzed with the data by next Wednesday? Things like that. So you're always trying to negotiate to get something done. Or maybe you're working with a vendor to negotiate a deal to build out a machine for your team or for your company, but it costs $1 million. You have to learn how to negotiate. Hopefully you can leverage some things here and there and get the price down further from $1 million to hopefully $800,000, but to get there and to learn how to negotiate, these are the best resources that I found online in which I either am personally reading or have read in the past. So the first two, Getting to Yes and Getting Past No. And of course we have Never Split the Difference by the FBI negotiator himself, Chris Voss. And then we have Bargaining for Advantage and then Negotiation Genius. You can't go wrong with learning how to negotiate from each of these books. I personally started with Never Split the Difference, and I plan to go through Getting to Yes or Getting Past No, and we'll see how it goes from there. But again, pick one of these books and you'll become an expert in negotiations in no time. All right, the fourth area is all about charisma. Have you ever seen how someone can enter a room and just build conversations easily, and other people just seem to show them respect, and they just seem so confident with how they portray themselves? When you're a project manager and you have charisma, people will speak praises about you and they'll want to work with you time and time again. But how do you build up that charisma? How do you get other people to like you? I've said in the past, not everyone will want to work with you. And it's just the fact, as a project manager in my first PM role, there were people who hated working with me, but it just felt like it was their personality. They just had this I don't want to work with Alvin kind of face, But in general, there will always be someone who doesn't like you. And so you have to build up this shield and still have the charisma to get other people to still want to work with you. And the two books I recommend here are by Vanessa Van Edwards, Captivate and Cues. You're going to learn how to communicate, how to build up that emotional intelligence to see the emotion that someone is expressing in their face and still have that intelligible conversation with them and know when to back off or when to approach them, and also to sense what are they feeling. If someone's angry, you probably don't want to upset them, right? And same thing for the book for Cues. You will learn how to build charisma if you're giving presentations, if you're speaking on a call, or if you're leading a meeting with several team members. These two books, in my opinion, are like the modern day version of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Highly, highly recommend these two books. Just check out one of them, and I think that you'll start to see small improvements over time with how you communicate, how you have that executive presence when you're leading teams and talking to your managers, and also with how you carry yourself in different scenarios. So check these out. And finally, we have the most powerful topic, which is influence. As I've said before, we don't have formal influence. We have to build that and leverage it based on the trust we build, the credibility, the results we've driven, the experiences that we share with our team members, and the informal authority that we've created for ourselves. So it's important to understand the psychology behind persuasion so you can still influence someone even though you just met them. It's kind of like knowing how to use the Force, like from Star Wars. You will learn to do this, or you will work with me on this project, right? These are not the droids you were looking for if you're a fan of Star Wars. So the biggest books that I recommend are these three. Influence by Robert Cialdini, which gives you the psychology behind persuasion. It's more emphasized on sales and marketing, but I do believe that some of these tactics can apply in the professional world with how you communicate, how you give value so that someone will want to work with you continuously. For example, when I started as a PM, I tried to be very kind and very friendly. I would bring in cookies or bring in some kind of dessert or some goods as a way to get to know people, or I would get lunch with my coworkers. It's just one way to build up the trust and the reputation with other people in your office space. The second book is Daniel Pink's To Sell is Human. Everything we do is a negotiation. Everything we do is tied around selling something to someone. And this book gives you some of the strategies on what you can do in those scenarios. And finally, I have Robert Greene's book, 48 Laws of Power. This one, I know it's controversial, but I'm including it here because it teaches you so many rules to be on the lookout for, so you don't get manipulated by someone who takes advantage of office politics or stabs you in the back, because trust me, it can happen. That's why you always need to cover your butt in meetings, your meeting minute notes, what's going on in your project. That's why you have action logs and you document literally everything, because you never know when someone like a director or a vice president will ask you what happened on this milestone. And if someone misspoke about something, you need documentation to back it up. So highly recommend 48 Laws of Power, because it will teach you I guess you can call it the rules or the laws that people could use against you if they're trying to manipulate or coerce you into doing something that you don't want to do. Remember, being a project manager is all about learning how to navigate yourself through the company, building relationships, building trust, and learning how to influence others with informal authority. Me personally, I'm actually reading the 48 Laws of Power through Audible as an audiobook, and I'll listen to it while I'm working out or even on my commutes to work. So if you want to get the 48 Laws of Power completely for free as an audiobook, you can sign up for a free Audible trial at audibletrial.com/Alvin the PM. Now, I want to hear from you. Which area are you going to commit to learning and focusing in this year? Drop me your comments in the comment section down below. Now, to learn how to navigate and stand out in your career as a project manager this year so you can make more than $100,000, please watch this video next, and I'll see you in the next video.